All right, let's talk Georgia Bulldogs here for a little bit. Look, this is a Georgia Bulldogs program that is continuing to show itself to be head and shoulders over the rest of its competition. Obviously, we've seen it on the field for the most part, despite the disappointing end in the SEC championship game, but it looks like Georgia is building up an even brighter future as well. Let's pull up the final 2024 recruiting rankings now that class is 100% in the books. This is according to 247sports.com, my favorite source for recruiting news. So you can see there, this is the top four we focused on. The University of Miami, number 4. The Oregon Ducks at 3. Alabama Crimson Tide at number 2. And the Georgia Bulldogs, once again, with the number 1 ranked aggregate recruiting class in 2024. But they also don't just have the highest score at 317.05 points. They also are the most 5 stars, tied with Alabama. And they have the highest average value per recruit. So not only are they getting a lot of great talent, they're also getting the best of the best as well. They're getting not just quantity, not just quality, but both. That is ridiculous and phenomenal for Georgia going forward. We'll take a deeper dive into what this means, but first, Bulldogs fans, looking at the 2024 class, who's one new recruit, one new Georgia Bulldog that you're really looking forward to step up early in his Bulldogs career, a guy you think could have an early impact? Give us that guy in the comment section below. So one of the things I've noticed so far in this college football offseason is that all the headlines, and it's just the way the media works, everyone focuses on the shiny new toy. Hey, the Oregon Ducks are going to the Big Ten. They're getting some transfers. Hey, Miami's recruiting okay now. They could be getting some players. They got some transfers. What's going on with Michigan? Ohio State's getting some transfers. Alabama's in flux. Is Texas really back? You know who nobody is talking about? The Georgia Bulldogs. They're clearly, if you look at the recruiting rankings, if you look at their odds to win the national title this year, they are head and shoulders above the rest. And Georgia fans, I want to welcome you to a new reality. Your success has gotten just so accepted in the rest of the college football world that you're boring. Right? You become the team. Yeah, you're going to be number 1. You're going to be number 2 team in the country. You're going to get the best recruiting class every year. It's expected. It's not news. It's not worthy to talk about because it's expected. And that's a sign that you've reached dynasty level proportion, historic stuff. That's what Nick Saban got to at Alabama for a long time, right? Where we just expected Alabama to be the number 1 recruiting class, start out the year preseason number 1, roll through the entire regular season, maybe have one slip up, win the SEC title, and maybe some team would upset them, in the college football playoff, national championship game, Clemson upsets them, something like that. But most of the time, they're going to roll through, win the national title, have 30 first-round picks, and do it again next year. That was the Alabama Crimson Tide. The Georgia Bulldogs have become that program. And I think it's very interesting, the fact that it happened so quickly, the transition from the Saban dynasty in Alabama to a new dynasty in college football. And I think we got so used to what Saban and Alabama were doing that we just kind of expected that, that just is what happens. There's a big-time dynasty in college football. But what we have to understand is appreciate what Kirby Smart is doing right now in Athens. As great as Saban was, and he's an all-time great, maybe the greatest, Kirby Smart is very quickly reaching that level. I know it's a smaller sample size in terms of volume of seasons, but in terms of his success per season, he's right there with Saban. And based on this recruiting class, they're not going anywhere. And it's not just a weird collection of talent. This isn't a Jimbo Fisher recruiting class where they got 12 wide receivers that were all 4 and 5 stars and they pumped up their rankings and only 3 wide receivers would play and they all transfer a year later. If you look at the Georgia class, it's so really well dispersed across the entire positions. They got 1 quarterback, 3 running backs, 4 receivers, 6 offensive linemen, 6 defensive linemen, 3 linebackers, 4 defensive backs, and 1 special team specific. That's great. That's team building. That's a complete team right there. You get 3-4 classes like that, there you go. That's your entire roster. That's all you need. And it's all elite talent. That's the thing that's absolutely bonkers. And I'm really confused as to why, when I look at ESPN, when I look at the major college football media landscape right now, we're not looking at Georgia and recognizing them as the special dynasty they are. I don't know if they'll win the national title in 2024. I pick them over the entire field. I think Georgia has better odds of winning the national title than the rest of the college football world combined. Now, you could look at that and say, well, it's just 2024, but we're seeing the recruiting class rankings, folks. They're going to be great for a very, very long time. There is no signs of slowing down. They're not the shiny new toy. They're not Miami being back. They're not Texas being back. They're not going to be, is Alabama good now? Or going to stay good now? We've gotten so used to it. They're so dominant, we just expect it. right? They're become almost like synonymous, like a company like Apple, where we just expect, oh, iPhone, great product, right? You just expect it. And that's a great sign if you're a Georgia fan. I hear from a lot of Georgia fans every once in a while. They're like, why is nobody talking about us? I don't understand. And at first I was confused. I was like, yeah, it's weird. They should be all over the media. They're dominating. They're crushing it. Recruiting, transfers, developing talent, chance to win a national title, favorite to win the national title, not just this year, but for years going out in the out years. But we just expect it now. And I think that's what Kirby Smart has done that is so impressive. And then I think is the overall theme and message I want to push to Georgia Bulldogs fans and fans of college football. We need to appreciate what Kirby Smart has done. Saban did it in Alabama, and we just kind of got used to it. We just said, it's just the way college football is. They're just a dynasty. No, it's not. We remember the Pete Carroll USC Trojans. That was like a 3-year run. The 90s Nebraska teams, that was like 4 years, 5 years. Right? Georgia's already at that level with no signs of slowing down. Right? They're already surpassed in a lot of ways what the best USC Trojan teams were. They're reaching rarefied air. The greatest dynasty in college football, the Alabama Crimson Tide Nick Saban era, has come to a conclusion, and we're literally just sleepwalking past the second greatest dynasty in college football, potentially in the Georgia Bulldogs. It is absolutely ridiculous to me. But Georgia fans, all I got to say is just embrace it and enjoy it. Because what we're seeing out of Kirby Smart and what we're seeing out of Athens is nothing short of absolutely special. And eventually, Kirby Smart will get credit for the job he's done. This is just an incredible accomplishment by Georgia because everybody is gunning for them. Everybody knows that they have to take down the Bulldogs in recruiting and transfers and certainly on the field on Saturdays, and yet nobody can do it consistently. When it happens, it's considered a fluke, like Alabama beating them in the SEC championship game this year. They're the best team in college football. It's not even close. They're the best team in 2024. And they're going to be the best team in 2025. And the way things are going, they're going to be the best team for a very, very long time.